Hi, this is the Love Your Life Show with Susie Pettit, Certified Life and Wellness Coach. Join Susie as she helps you with your wellness and mindset so you can live a life you love. Let's go, Warriors!
Hello, Warriors, and welcome to another episode with me, Susie Pettit, your Certified Life and Parent Coach. I am especially jazzed that you are clicking listen today. In fact, I think I need to slow down my speaking because I'm just so passionate about this message. This is an awesome message for you to listen to. Whether you are a parent or not, I promise this episode is for you. Okay? Why? The two things that I'm about to tell you and instruct you around help the kids that are in your house in addition to the ones we come into influence with. Okay, so if you're not a parent, maybe you have a niece or a nephew or kids of friends that you're around. Okay, well, you influence them. Okay, if you can make the argument that you're not around any human under the age of 28, okay, which is when this brain development stage sort of stops, well, you influence the parents around you and the other adults. Our actions influence other people. And I believe we are at a crossroads in human development right now, in history. And it is super important for us to learn the things I'm teaching today in the episode and the things that I will continue to teach in the Love Your Life School released in September. I am passionate about getting this message out here for you on emotional intelligence and relationships. Okay, not only because I see the evidence in my clients' lives once they learn these things and start practicing the tools, I've had my own experience. Okay, we see what I'm talking about right now about this time in history and why I'm so passionate about getting this out is that we seem to be in an especially codependent period of relating right now that is showing up harmfully for our young adults. It's showing up as increased anxiety, their failure to launch, their lack of confidence, sort of lackadaisical flatness, all these things, okay? And learning about emotional intelligence and the tools I teach have the power to ease so much suffering. I remember when I was first working with a coach, even before I decided to become a coach, she told me that one of the ways she helps people the most is to end unnecessary emotional suffering. That got me. So now I'm a coach and I agree. That is what I do. One of the most common pieces of feedback I get is that I help people feel better. I help them remove the drama to make things simple so that we don't have as much unnecessary emotional suffering. Okay? So yay you for listening in. Thank you. Today I bring you two things to focus on, to consider, to absorb, with the intention that when you do, you are best equipped to empower yourself and the kids you influence. So let's go. Okay, the top two things to know and understand about parenting and empowering teens and young adults. First, regret is optional and not encouraged. Your mindset matters. First and foremost, please, please, please join me in cleaning up your mindset today. The thoughts you think create the way you feel, which then drive how you parent. If your mindset is a mess, your parenting will be messy. If we are parenting out of guilt or shame or regret, it doesn't end well. And so please, for today, let's clean up how we're thinking about our past and how we think about our past and how we parented in our past, like when our kids were younger. Okay, often when I start talking and people start learning about this stuff, their brains will start saying like, oh, geez, if only I found the thought model when my kids were toddlers. Okay, or if only I had learned how to better self-regulate when they were younger. I had these thoughts myself too. Like, why didn't I know about this when, okay, stop. That line of thinking is a waste of our time and energy. Listen to me, dear warrior. I am on your side. You were not supposed to find my work earlier than you did. You were not supposed to parent differently than you did. You found me and you learned these tools right when you were supposed to. If you find yourself thinking about times in your past when you parented in ways you wish you hadn't, maybe you yelled or threatened or whatever, Let's clean that up. It is time to let that go. Okay, let's clean up our mindset. I want you to have your own back here, dear one. Okay, I know it happened exactly as it was meant to happen because it happened that way. We can't change the past, so I am always encouraging people to not spend time arguing with the past. That's unnecessary suffering. Here's an example. I know you guys like examples. Okay, think like, say you see a young mom holding a baby, okay, and the mom is crying. I don't know, like you see her at a park or something. I'm not always great with these examples, but let's just imagine. You see a young mom holding a baby and she's crying. And you go over and she says she's super upset because she just read about how you shouldn't use deodorant with aluminum when you're pregnant because it can damage your unborn baby. And she used deodorant with aluminum throughout her whole pregnancy. She's so upset. What would you do, dear warrior? What would you tell her? Would you be like, yeah, you stink. That was awful. How could you? Okay. And like, did you ever do it twice in a day? What if you reapplied your deodorant? Oh my gosh, you did like double the damage. Wow. Would you say that to her? I mean, come on. I kind of doubt that you would encourage her to sit around and beat herself up for something she can't change and didn't know was wrong. Okay, by the way, I don't know if this deodorant thing is even a good example. I don't know if that's right or wrong. So don't go sending me articles on deodorant or anything. But you get what I'm saying. Okay, someone did something in the past that her present self wishes she hadn't done, but her past self didn't know it was wrong, and her present self can't undo it. Would you encourage her to spend a lot of time beating herself up and thinking about what a bad choice she made, what a bad mom she was? I certainly hope not. And yet, this is where my brain goes. Us women waste far too much time beating ourselves up for things that we've already done. And I say women, I see men doing it too. We spend time in the past, okay, beating ourselves up for things that we've already done, things we can't change. Instead, I like to direct people to have a more accepting, supportive mindset of their past selves. A sort of shoulder shrug. I'm like, okay, yeah, that happened, now what? Okay, even if you want to label what you did as right or wrong in the past, I ask that you don't spend much time thinking about how you shouldn't have done what you did. It's unkind to you. Plus, it's a waste of your time. The more time you spend thinking of your past and what you wish you hadn't done or how you wish it had been different, all that time that you're spending thinking about that is time that you are not in your present day brain thinking of what's going on now and thinking of creating your best possible future. Okay, so let's stop that. Let's clean up your mindset. You parented your kids exactly as you were meant to parent them up to this point. Okay, I know that might be hard to think about. I know there are things that in my kids' past, I'm like, oh, wow, okay, interesting, Susie. Okay, but they were supposed to have had the experience they had, even the rough ones. And I know that because they had that. Okay, one of the things that helps me here is when I think of Oprah. I love Oprah. Okay, and her childhood was rough, guys. Okay, and yet her childhood made her who she is. The suffering, the hardships, all of it crafted the amazing human who influences us today. So please, Mama, you're right where you need to be. When you find your brain going to the past to beat yourself up or to feel regret, remind yourself, regret is optional. It comes from your thoughts. Okay, I choose to not waste my time thinking about something I can do nothing about. I like to think that I am and have been the exact mother my kids need to become their version of their Oprahs. Okay, my kids are all sons, so I think that I am the exact mom they need to become the amazing men they're becoming. Okay. So action step for you warrior listeners here with this part 1 is, how about you write for a bit about your regrets of parenting? Where is your mind beating yourself up? And what can you let go of? Where could you be like that kind, wiser woman in the park with that crying mom? Where could you have your own back? How can you choose to live more in the present and future than the past? All right, and moving on to number 2 here. Number 1 was about how we're thinking about our parenting. And number 2 is about how we're thinking about our kids and their experiences and their feelings, especially their feelings, especially their emotions. Did you know that teens are supposed to have feelings? Teens are supposed to feel upset. Actually, humans are supposed to have feelings and emotions. This is part of humanity. Like, we have feelings and emotions. Okay, but teens in particular are going to feel it. They're going to feel upset. They're supposed to feel disappointment. Teens are supposed to feel stress. They're supposed to have moments of sadness. Okay, better yet, research shows that when our teens and young adults have a wide range of emotions and learn how to regulate them in helpful or neutral ways, that's evidence of healthy development. Okay, that's what we want to see. The teen years are known in the research and academia world as a time of big emotions, meaning that having them is part of their healthy development. Okay, yes, I get it. I'm a parent. The big swings are tough for us to see. They're tough for us to witness when they're in those emotional swings. And yet the big emotions and the swings that are so tough for us adults to witness are a sign of their emotional and mental health. What? Yeah. Okay. And yet, back to what I'm talking about in this time in history, we've entered a massive era of codependency and fear in our parenting. Okay, because of the way that we were raised and sort of what's going on with parenting, we're in this place of fear when our kids have big emotions. Well-known author and psychologist Dr. Lisa Damour says in her book, which I will link in the show notes, she says, to put it bluntly, somewhere along the way, we became afraid of being unhappy. When we parents are nervous about our kids being nervous, or we're anxious about our kid being anxious, or sad about our kid being sad, we will parent in unhelpful ways. I promise. And that is why I'm so glad you listen to podcasts like this and you enroll in things like my Parenting Teens class or the Love Your Life School. Okay. We did not know about emotional intelligence when we were younger. They developed it. They discovered it in the late 70s and then started practicing it in the late 80s and 90s. Okay. Our parents did not know about it. We were taught that we could control other people's feelings and experiences. Which means that if we aren't continuing our education as parents, like current day, if we are not continuing to learn about the brain and all the great things that I teach in the Love Your Life School, we repeat patterns of the past. Okay, the patterns of the past included a lot of dismissal of emotions. Turn that frown upside down. Gaslighting of emotions. You're not feeling that. And codependent training. Don't make dad mad, etc. I want to be clear. I am not blaming our parents or any parents. Go back to point 1. We had the exact parents we had to become the influencers we get to be today. It is because of our wounds and because of our inexpertise at feeling feelings that we are now primed to learn and pass new knowledge and ways of being down to the next generation. So let's not waste time feeling shame or regret or beating ourselves up or beating our parents up. Okay, like we are not beating up that woman on the park bench. It is a waste of time for us, for our kids, and for their future. Let's look at the here and now and moving forward, because present day, it appears that we adults are doing our darnest to make sure our kids don't have any uncomfortable feelings, like Dr. Damour says, as if that's the goal, to always feel calm or happy. No. News alert, emotions aren't bad. Feelings are meant to be felt. Human development requires us to learn how to regulate emotions. Okay, they're not only a normal part of our life, they're a healthy part of our life. And yet, because of our past and programming, many of us are running around feeling stressed and anxious about our kids being stressed and anxious, or about our kids feeling anything other than calm and happy. Warrior, there's a time for it all. I like defining and thinking of mental wellness as having the right emotion for the current circumstance and handling it in a non-harmful way. Okay, so you have a circumstance, and are they having a reasonable feeling about that circumstance? And are they handling it in a non-harmful way? Use today's podcast to draw a line in the sand. Okay, to begin to see emotions as guideposts, not good or bad. To stop passing down codependency and non-emotional intelligence. Okay? Otherwise, we're part of a parenting paradigm that is numbing our kids. Since we weren't taught what to do with our emotions, many of us are rushing to fix our kids' emotions before they even have them. And if this worked, guys, let me just be clear. Maybe I'd be for it. Maybe I'd be like, here, this is what you do. Call the teacher or call the mean girl's mom. But it doesn't work. At best, what it does is rob our kids from their own learning experience and their own opportunity to enter into higher level thinking, their own growth opportunities. At its worst, it creates a delicate, anxious, numbed out human. That's our child, one who looks for unhelpful coping strategies as an adult. Okay, in fact, another notable part of this Dr. D'Amour's book that I will now definitely link in the show notes at smbwell.com/260. Okay, she says that in her training, she was taught, I found this fascinating, she was taught to look at the age someone was when they started drinking alcohol, because that's when they stopped maturing emotionally. That people stop maturing when they start using substances to manage life. I think she was talking about addictions there, but I think we get the point. In my language, this is that the adults are using substances to escape from the feeling rather than techniques and tools to feel the feeling. Yes, that's extreme, but I want the point to be taken. Are kids feeling their feelings while uncomfortable for us to witness? Believe me, I know. I'm a parent. It is a necessary part of their human development. It's something we want. Okay, for example, I want our sons to be unhappy when their girlfriend breaks up with them. That means they're invested in the relationship. I want our daughters to be angry when a boy says something rude or cutting to her. That means she has high self-regard. I want our kid to be frustrated with himself when it's the day before a big exam and he spent the 2 days playing video games instead of studying. I want our daughters to feel nervous before giving a big speech. That means she's pushing her limits and on the growth path. Okay, those are all examples of the right feelings for this current situation. Teenagers are supposed to have feelings. Okay, not just pie in the sky, rainbow and daisy feelings, all the feelings. And the better we adults are, and the more knowledge we have around how to help support kids in regulating and feeling their emotions, the better for everyone. Okay, please take this away from the episode. The teen years are characterized as a roller coaster ride of emotions. The more, the better. Okay, the better equipped we parents are at helping them ride the roller coaster, at spotting and supporting them in using helpful or neutral ways to ride that roller coaster, the better. Remember, I define mental health as having the right emotion for the right circumstance and handling it in a non-harmful way. What I mean by non-harmful is something that is either neutral or helpful versus something that is harmful, like Lisa D'Amour was talking about in her book, like alcohol. As a parent, I implore, and alcohol is not the only one. This podcast is only like the tip of what I can teach you. I dive deeper into this in the parenting class and in the membership. Okay, and yet, as a parent, I implore you to learn the difference between neutral ways to regulate an emotion and harmful ways to regulate an emotion. I bet you can already spot the helpful ways. We're a pretty smart bunch, okay? But where I see parents get into trouble is with the other two. When they think the neutral ways are harmful, and so they get over-involved or over-parent, or they excuse or ignore the harmful ways by thinking things like, oh, that's just kids being kids. And so they ignore the danger signs our teens are sending us. Or parents use their own unhelpful coping techniques to distract themselves from their parenting and their kids' lives. I get it. There's no shame again here. I get it. Parenting is challenging. And because of everything I've said, our own parenting, okay, how we were parented, when emotional intelligence came out, all of that, etc., many of us parents don't have the skills to best help and support our kids. Okay, many of you are not like me with a master's of education and decades of research into this stuff. And yet, we are massive influences in our kids' lives. There's no test we have to pass to become a parent. Okay? How do we do it? How do we help them regulate in helpful or neutral ways? And while it might seem anticlimactic and like you want me to wave a magic wand, I want right here, right now, this is exactly where I want your brain to be. In curiosity, looking inward at yourself to kindly question, how can you augment your learning? Okay, how can you, where's the curiosity there? Like, oh, how can I learn more about this? Instead of looking outward in fear when our kids have an uncomfortable emotion and using our life experiences to try to fix or change it. As I said, I use this podcast to teach sort of the tip of the iceberg, to bring awareness to things. And often at the end of podcasts, I say, if you're ready to take the next step, and then I give options for action. Today's a bit different because this is bigger than you. I'm feeling especially passionate that the time is now. I don't live in a bubble, and neither do you. And we know it has been an especially challenging time to be a teen. Okay? And research is backing that up. Research is showing us that it's especially challenging right now. Which means sitting and complaining about our youth, or sitting and complaining with our friends about our anxious teens, is unhelpful and keeps us stuck. Let's draw a line in the sand and say that's no longer acceptable for us. Okay, it's time to take action. You are brave. You are courageous. With crisis comes opportunity. Listeners of this show are warriors. You are generally a generation of well-educated, empathetic adults. If you're listening, you take your human responsibility here on earth seriously. Okay, and if you're a listener of this show, you're a learner. You have a growth mindset, and I am imploring you to take the next step. Take the parenting class if you haven't already. It is so simple. It is online. There are 3 videos in there. I think they're 20 minutes or less, okay, with action steps that will change your life. Okay, decide to habitualize your growth and learning and expansion as your own self and being the best you can be by enrolling in the Love Your Life School. And hey, share this episode. Sometimes I just ask you to, but this time, can you just share this episode with another human who you think is capable of hearing and absorbing this 2-part message? I am coming to you with such love that you use this episode today to firstly have your own back, to not spend any more time beating yourself up, to clean up your mindset about your past parenting. And secondly, to dive into learning and accepting that teens and young adults are supposed to have feelings. They're not ours to fix. Nothing has gone wrong. Use your energy and discomfort at witnessing their emotional experience and what they're going through to take action in your life to augment your skills on parenting and emotional intelligence and how you can best support our teens and young adults. I call on us to be part of the solution, to be the warriors we are. The time is now. I love you guys. I am out here modeling this with you. Lean on me in the membership for support, and let's go.
Thank you for listening to the Love Your Life show. If you want to hear more from Susie and support the show, be sure to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. Also, leave a review and share this podcast with friends and family. Go get 'em, warriors.